Chris, did you guys accomplish what you were hoping to today, and what are you looking for Beauvillier to bring to the team?
Yeah, we did. I mean, I think when I was in front of you guys last week, I said all options were on the table, and I think we did explore kind of all the options. And this was one path we thought we might go. And Anthony was definitely a guy that kind of had on our list as would be a really good fit for this type of role. And I think he's going to he's a guy that gets around the ice really well, competes hard. He's got a lot of utility as far as moving around the lineup, moving left wing, right wing. And he's a guy that's had a couple good playoff runs in his history. So I think he's going to be a really good fit, and it sounds like personality-wise he'll be a good fit in the room as well.
Where do you guys envision him in the lineup, or at least where will he start?
Yeah, I'll leave that up to Carbs. We have some thoughts about where he could go, but at the end of the day, Carbs will have a way better idea than I will.
As you were sorting through your options today, any part of it you have to save cap space for Ryan Leonard? Is that a part of the decision making?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that we had to proceed with enough cap space should he decide to come out that we can do it. So that was definitely a factor in all our decision making throughout the process.
What did you think of the price tags of some of the players? It seemed like it was a seller's market.
It was a seller's market. I mean, it's always a seller's market at the deadline. But I think this year there was probably 3 or 4 less sellers that decided, hey, we're either going to – and actually instead of just holding, even turned into buyers. And I think they were making calls as well, and prices got up. And you had to decide if you want to participate, you got to be good paying higher prices. And we decided we wanted to participate, and we were okay getting into that price market environment. So, back to Econ 101, supply and demand, and it was in full force today.
How did losing Vrána impact how you guys did things today, or was that something you were just sort of planning for anyway? Or?
Yeah, we were hoping that we could get him through waivers, and then we had some flexibility to create some cap space with him, with a loan potentially to Hershey. Obviously, he got picked up, and I'm really happy for him. I think it'll be a great chance for him to play a bunch of hockey down the stretch here for Nashville. At least that's what they indicated. They really want to use him and get him a good chance. So it's a good chance for him to try to get another contract for next year. So, Jake was great here. Really proud with how hard he worked and what he did to get himself in a position to make this team with no contract out of camp. So tough to see it end that way, and we'll definitely miss him. But, at least he's in the NHL and he's going to be playing games.
Because you guys make a move, Carolina makes a move trading away a player. Jersey obviously lost Jack Hughes. I'm just wondering how you see the Metropolitan Division now and the path through it.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I'm not lying. It was nice to see some big names go west. But playoff hockey, no matter who you're playing and what the names are, like when you're taking the best 8 teams in a conference, like it's going to be good hockey, and you're going to have to be ready to play at a high level and relatively mistake-free hockey. So that's what we're expecting. It doesn't matter who's in or who's out for these teams. These are the top teams in the East, and we have to be ready to match their play.
Beauvillier had a really tough year last year, playing for 3 different teams. It probably is his worst offensive season, but it seemed like the underlying numbers were there. And then he bounced back this year. Are you guys seeing that as well, kind of that trajectory from him? And what are your thoughts on his play away from the puck and in the D zone?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard. Like, he got bounced around a little bit around the league, and it's hard when your role's changing and maybe you're on teams that are going through, a different part of the rebuild cycle. So, I look back more at, like you said, you watch his games, you watch how he plays. And to me, when he's going, he's got a high compete level. He pressures pucks. And he's kind of got that playoff mentality where he's going hard and doesn't really seem to get fazed by much. He seems to be a pretty level-headed guy out there. So the big moments won't faze him. Actually seems to rise to the big moments at times. So, I mean, I think, seeing how well he played, for us in Pittsburgh this year, I think kind of gave us some reassurance that maybe the last couple of years were just more of the situation than anything happening with the player.
The improvement in your prospect cover, did that maybe make it a little more palatable to part with a second-round pick?
Yeah, our prospects kind of helped us and hurt us. It helped us in that we definitely felt more comfortable partying with picks, even higher than second-round picks if we had to. But it hurt us because, that's what everybody wanted, was our prospects, right? Like, every team is like, we want this guy, we want that, and it's just like, we can't do it. Like, it's just, it doesn't make sense for us to do that. So, So yeah, so that definitely took us out of maybe a couple of deals that we could have done if we would have gotten more aggressive on that, but just didn't seem like the right time and where we are to be, especially with how happy we are with some of our prospects to be moving them in deals, especially for rentals.
You talk about the room, and you spoke about it last week about the chemistry and not really wanting to upset that. How much did that factor into today, where it was relatively quiet and you guys chose not to really make a move for anything beyond Beauvillier, really?
Yeah, I mean, just given how tight we are with the cap, and like I said, like saving room if a Ryan Leonard does come out, you know, it means if you're going to get kind of more aggressive than what we did, you're moving bodies out to do it, and that's something you really have to think about how that affects things. You know, it's when you look at it from afar, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but these are people that have relationships, whose girlfriends and wives have relationships with other girlfriends and wives, whose kids play with other people's kids, and it can really impact the room. So it just, to us, it didn't feel like there was anything that made enough sense to really cause that kind of disruption. And yeah, so I think what we did was probably, I think, you know, the best way to kind of keep this chemistry going.
Were you close on anything else?
Yeah, I think we were close on a few different things. I don't know how close the other teams were in actually doing it, but we were definitely, yeah, we were close on some other things that kind of looked different from what we did.
Was there a trade that made you go, oh?
Not like, well, I mean, some of the stuff that happened, I think, obviously with Mikko Rantanen, that's, you don't see that a lot, right?
Sure.
But more it was the returns. Like I woke up this morning and looked through some of the stuff that happened late last night, and I was like, wow, things are as priced. Like, you know, you're not sure if some of these teams are telling you this is what I'm getting to try to get you to pay more.
Sure.
But then I saw that, I said, okay, I think they're actually getting this, and the prices have gone up significantly. So yeah, that was kind of, for me, you see that kind of general elevation. Like even the prospects that moved. I mean, in past couple of years, I think you see the prospects that move and they kind of slot into a certain level of prospects that's not, you know, maybe teams are more willing to part with. And I think the ones that you saw move this year, it's like, wow, they're pushing all in if they're moving this guy. So
Going back to Beauvillier, just looking at what Carberry's been able to do for players like, you know, even Dylan Strome, but Protas and McMichael, is the hope that the same can happen for Beauvillier, where maybe he can unlock some of that consistency that maybe he hasn't had in the past few years?
yeah, I think Spencer will put him in a position to succeed and play to his strengths. And I think too, he's got some relationships with some of the players in our group, which I think will help get him comfortable. So yeah, I think on both aspects, both kind of the players, and I mean, they've done such a good job already this year getting guys acclimated, and then Spencer and his staff, you know, getting the player in a good spot. I'm confident they'll unlock as much as they can out of him.
Does getting through the deadline now allow you to kind of turn your focus to maybe re-signing some of the other outstanding UFAs?
Yeah, definitely. I think you know, attention now turns to continue working on the UFAs and then start doing some of the draft preparation stuff for the summer.
We asked Coach about Milano today. Didn't really get a whole lot of an answer. Can you shed any more light on his situation?
Yeah. So he definitely had a setback, which is tough to see because he's been working so hard to come back. Like, you know, we see him on the ice, but even away from the ice, like he's putting in the time, and he really wanted to come back and be available for the playoffs. And I think in pushing to do that, had a fairly significant setback last week. So it's kind of back to the drawing board a little bit with him. So really hard to see. He's torn up about it, as are we, and we'll just have to figure out next steps in the next couple of days.
Will you have to add anyone else? I feel like Vrána and Milano out. I mean, with no roster limit now, too, would you make a call up or something to have an extra body around?
Yeah, I mean, once Anthony gets here, we'll be at 13, which is a good spot to be. And I mean, we've got Hendricks and Yvonne down in Hershey who are playing well. Mike Scarbosa as well. He's injured right now, but should be hopefully in a couple weeks, getting close. So I mean, I'm not totally concerned on that front. And then again, if we make progress with Ryan in the late spring, that'll be another guy coming in.
Chris, you mentioned teams wanting your prospects to have as many great prospects coming up as you do, and to have the talent you have competing, first place in the East right now. At this trade deadline, did you guys have a chance to think about just how good of a spot you guys are in and how comfortable, obviously still want to make the moves, but how comfortable you feel and how glad you are to be in that position.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's nice to have teams calling on your prospects and having your team, being in the position that it is and have that many high-end prospects. It definitely, you get excited about the future for sure. And like I said earlier, I think it definitely allows you to say, hey, if we have a few less picks this upcoming draft, that's not the worst thing. We've got a pretty good cupboard going here. So I mean, I think we were comfortable doing whatever we needed to do, and the prospects helped us do that.
You talked earlier about Beauvillier having some connections with other folks on the team. It feels like you guys have gotten a couple different guys in the past few years who have had connections to current players or multiple acquisitions having connections to each other. How much of that is something that you're considering when you're looking at adding guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing about this league is they all have connections in some way, right? Like they've all been playing against each other probably since they were 10 years old in some way. So it's more you just try to you use those connections to figure out a little bit about the player. Lars played with Anthony in Pittsburgh, so Spencer was able to talk to him and see what he's like as a player and as a person, and it just gives you a little more comfort that what you're seeing lines up with what somebody that was on the ice, in the trenches with them is seeing, and that's kind of the process all the time, and players are really good about kind of giving you honest feedback on that stuff.